Number 10, Leandro Andrade on the right, Captain Abdallah Zubir on the left, and the young Colombian Camilo Duran up front. And the Newcastle team, Newcastle are lining up to kick off. They're wearing their green chain shirts tonight, white shorts, white socks. Newcastle with Nick Pope back in goal, Trippier the captain, Chow, Byrne and Hall the back four, then Tonali, and then Willock and Voltemada, Elanga, Barnes and Gordon. There are lots of attacking players on the pitch. No Joe Linton in the team, as we mentioned. There's the whistle, and the whistles from the crowd as well, as the Norwegian official Espen Eskas gets the game underway, and Newcastle kicking off, playing from right to left. As we look at it here from the dressing room side of the ground, Tonali steps in, wins the ball back, then Willock passes it forward, Elanga with a run. He is challenged by Medina, and the referee says that is a fair challenge. That was at pace, and the ball bounced away, and eventually Qarabağ win a free kick on the far side.
Yes, and for your Newcastle fan, you've just seen those first two challenges. What seemed like quite a strong one on the far side, and Elanga there, nothing given, and then a little tap on the Kazakh player, and he goes down and gives a free kick. We shall see if indeed he is a homer this far from home.
Yes. It's a long way from Norway as well. Here's Barnes away, Newcastle winning it back. Barnes into the penalty area, to the byline, works it across, and the goalkeeper goes down and actually just gets his fingertips to it as he drops to his knees. That was heading in, creeping in at the bottom of the near post, but he was able to make a routine save.
Yeah, a really good start to the game, isn't it? Really lively. You can see Newcastle are very desperate to get up front. Mentioning all those forward players you've got there, noticeable Chapel was asking about Voltemada. Voltemada is actually playing very much as a 10 or just in front of the other two central midfield players there, so a roving role, which is what Voltemada loves.
Do you know what, it's almost like a Manchester City 4-1-4-1, isn't it?
Yeah. With
Tonali as the holding midfielder, as Dan Byrne hits a long left-footed pass over to the far side. Trippier's underneath that, heads it forward, and this tonight as Qarabağ clear it back towards the halfway line. With these teams, and the strength of Qarabağ is their attacking play. There's three forward players, and Johnny Montiel, also Caddy, who's on the bench tonight, who's just come back from injury. He's also a talented number 10. We might see him at some stage as Byrne plays it for. Here's Gordon now, right foot shot, buries it. Newcastle take the lead. Only 2 minutes on the clock. That is just the start that Eddie Howe and his side and all of these Newcastle fans here in Baku wanted to see. The early goal for the favourites to win the tie. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 1, and it is Anthony Gordon in the Champions League again. His 7th goal in this competition this season.
Dream scenario for Newcastle there. But what about Dan Byrne? He gets the ball at centre-back. And for those of a certain age, it's Beckenbauer-like, isn't it? He strides out from the centre-back position, and he just sees a run by Gordon. Gordon's got brilliant pace, but it's a slide rule pass from Dan Byrne there, and Gordon doesn't think twice. He just smashes it low across the goalkeeper. Exactly what a centre-forward should do. 1-0, and well, I said to Chappers before the game, it could be an open game and one we might enjoy. Appears to be that way at the start.
Well, this is 5 Live. BBC Radio Newcastle listeners are with us as well. I hope you were here in time to hear that goal from Anthony Gordon, as he also has significance, that goal, because with that Anthony Gordon has scored 7 goals in the Champions League proper, and he is now Newcastle's leading scorer in the competition. Here they come again. Medina is just able to clear it away before it reaches Gordon on the edge of the penalty area with the cross from the left-hand side from Hall, and Qarabağ have got it on the edge of their own box, and it is cleared away by Mustafa Zada. And now actually they're moving now with Johnny Montiel. Ball out to the right-hand side. This is the first Qarabağ attack, and they're already 1-0 down, the Azerbaijan champions, and Newcastle back in position, forcing them back towards the halfway line.
Lovely little turn by Montiel there. He's playing in 10 position for Qarabağ, but very noticeable early on the kind of, obviously the high press you get from Newcastle against players who they're not the best at playing out from the back, and they've been caught twice. One has already led to a brilliant chance for Newcastle, so if they keep on doing that with the pace that Newcastle have got up front, I think Qarabağ could lose more goals that way.
So already Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 1, and Anthony Gordon becoming, on his own, Newcastle's leading scorer in the Champions League proper, and dropping Alan Shearer down to second place on that list. But Qarabağ attacking, this is their strength. To the byline, ball pulled across, but actually it was overrun there on the far side. It's Johnny Montiel, wasn't it, who just took a heavy touch, and it's through for a goal kick for Nick Pope to take. So Newcastle with Pope in goal, Trippier, Chow, Byrne and Hall, then Tonali with Voltemada and Willock, Alanga and Barnes, Anthony Gordon, all of those attacking players. But as you said, Pat, it was Dan Byrne who was the creator, stepping forward from the halfway line and just slipping the ball through the inside right position. Gordon just inside the area, a bit of an angle, but a well-struck low right foot shot into the far bottom corner.
Yeah, I mean, we know Dan Byrne's capabilities, you know. He's not just a centre-back, he's not just a left-back. You can stick him up at centre-forward and he'd be fine. Put him on the left wing sometimes, you know, looks absolutely perfect. But that time, driving out with the ball and that beautiful pass. And by the way, I think he could have another big effect in this game later on, because watching the two teams before the start of the game, if Newcastle can get some set pieces, man for man, they are quite a bit taller than the opposition, and they should be able to use that.
Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 1. Qarabağ breaking, here's Sefaguliev down the left hand side, the left back into the box, pulls it across, a stretch from Hall, he couldn't get it away. Johnny Montiel is onto this for the Azerbaijan side, but Newcastle have got green shirts back in there. The cross though from the right from Leandro Andrade is blocked behind by Trippier, and it's a corner to Qarabağ. And we saw there, as you said, Pat, the left back Sefaguliev, what he's capable of.
It's incredible, isn't it? You look at me and you think, what are you doing there? He flies forward and he gets into incredible areas, but the little flick pass there by Duran was brilliant to put him in.
Corner taken short, Zubair back to Montiel, left-footed ball curled into the 6-yard box, but Pope was able to step forward, all in purple, and what is quite a hazy night here. Sort of light mist hanging under the floodlights. It's a big open stadium, this, the Tofik Bakramov Stadium near the Baku city centre. It's got a running track around the pitch, 31,000 capacity, and to get in tonight, even though this is the hottest ticket in town, is Newcastle. Tonali playing it forward, Willock now holding off the challenge, Willock looking for Barnes, right foot shot, but down goes the goalkeeper Kuchalski to make the block. Bang on target from Barnes, but straight at the goalkeeper.
Chances all over the place in this game so far. This is a brilliant game to be at. But sometimes you get Champions League, certain times they turn into the old games of chess, you know, and teams play it slowly out, and it can border on tiresome now and again. Not like that tonight, is it? It's absolutely fantastic, end to end. I've had two of them this week. Hearts v Rangers was very similar a few days ago.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon. You can go back and listen to that, by the way, if you're at the match and want to know what it sounded like on 5 Live. Go back, BBC Sounds app, stations and schedules. You'll find Ian Dennis and Pat's commentary. Right, Kieran Trippier's ready with this corner. Newcastle players massed at the back post. It's dummied on the edge of the area. Tonali with a shot, but that's blocked on the edge of the 6-yard area. Back to Trippier on the left. Right-footed ball into the back post. Dangerous. Headed down and across and in. It's 2-0. Chow at the back post. Brilliantly worked by Newcastle. And already Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 2 is the score, with only 8 minutes on the clock, and Newcastle are already eyeing a place in the round of 16.
We rewind the commentary 3 minutes ago when I said they're going to be dangerous for free kicks because they've got a height advantage in Newcastle, and they played a brilliant, it wasn't a short corner, but it was a dummy corner and it led to a shot that was played in there by Tonali. Unlucky break, bounced out again, but just lumped the ball into the back post again, and there's Chow, totally unmarked but rising above everyone else. 2-0, fabulous start for Newcastle. Don't seem to be in any way sluggish at all, do they, Newcastle, at the moment?
Well, it's been a feature of Qarabağ's matches in this competition. There've been lots of goals, there've been lots of early goals, there've been lots of late goals as well, and I must say, when we were sitting listening to the two managers, Gerben Gerbenhoff yesterday and Eddie Howe of Newcastle, talking about this match, even what they were saying made it sound as though there would definitely be goals in this tie, and we've already had two for Newcastle.
Brilliantly open. I mean, we haven't restarted yet, so they're obviously checking something at the back post there. I couldn't see anything wrong with Chow getting up there, because for me, Chow was, he actually was unopposed when he went up the head of the ball, so I thought it was fine.
Yeah, Newcastle players are clapping. The referees told them the goal stands. It is Qarabağ 0, Newcastle 2. Probably looking to see if there was, I don't know, maybe a foul, maybe a push at the back post when it was played in. We've got, I think, the biggest replay screen I've ever had, which is directly behind us. That must be the size.
It's gigantic.
It's the size of a house.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's right behind us, and we're actually too close. It's so big, we're too close to it.
They do things big over here, don't they? we saw a flag yesterday that I worked it out that if that flag was laid on this pitch on the goal line, it would reach until the penalty spot the other end. Enormous thing.
Yeah.
Not quite. The screen is big, but it's not quite that big.
You just get your head around that. A flag that is the size, almost the size of a football pitch, which is high up on a huge flagpole,
200 metres,
sitting off the coast of Baku. So as you walk along the Caspian seafront, you see this flag fluttering. It's quite a sight. The flag of Azerbaijan,
and it is officially the biggest flag in the world, biggest flying flag in the world.
Well, I have seen the flag of North Korea, which is just north of the demilitarised zone back at the World Cup in 2002, but this beats it.
This,
well, what a start for Newcastle. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 2. Whoever wins this tie will play either Chelsea or Barcelona, and the draw to map it all out precisely is at the end of next week. But already it looks very, doesn't it, like that it will be Newcastle United, who were already the favourites. Long way to go, though. However, this is asking a lot of Qarabağ now. They need to. Well, they've probably got to go for it, haven't they?
They have.
Hall, though, wins it back for Newcastle, gives it to Barnes. Barnes into the area. Willock latches onto this. Willock turns and shoots. That's blocked by Medina, and then it bounces down for him kindly, and he's able to chip it away, but Tonali is able to jump, wins the ball back, and then Tonali, under pressure, just hooks it out of play away from Montiel, and it's a throw into Qarabağ inside their own half.
They've got massive problems, but one of the biggest problems that Qarabağ have got just now, the right back Silva keeps on trying to play the ball out, and he's got all the flicks and tricks, and it looks like to me is a winger who's been asked to play full back and doesn't really understand the position completely, and he keeps on getting caught out by Harvey Barnes time and again.
Played forward by Hall, flick to Voldemada, the black shirts of Qarabağ getting back, but the green shirts of Newcastle in possession. Ball centrally, Willock turns and then works it out to Trippier, 25 yards from goal. Nice return pass from Willock. Then the cross from Trippier. That's blocked inside the penalty area. Only half cleared. Willock again. Willock square to Hall. Hall then to Barnes. Newcastle pressing for a third goal here. Barnes then forward from Willock. Pulled back by Barnes. Goalkeeper got a touch on that as he came out. I thought he might have actually taken out Barnes as well. But no, Qarabağ have been able to scrape it away. Hall with a challenge. Newcastle win it back. This is relentless from Eddie Howe's team. Tonali, Newcastle certainly gaining confidence from the 2 wins that they've had away from home in the last week at Tottenham, last midweek, and then of course at Villa Park in the FA Cup on Saturday night after really patchy form away from home, but hitting form right at the right time. 2-0 up here. Here's Anthony Gordon, who's running back towards the halfway line. Anthony Gordon now with 7 goals in the Champions League, so only Mbappe, Kane and Haaland have scored more goals in the Champions League than Anthony Gordon this season. Gordon then to Elanga couldn't get it back, and Qarabağ will break under severe pressure. That's an overhit pass. There's no way Camilo Duran is reaching that, and Chow and Byrne deal with it, and Newcastle back with Tonali, quickly works it forward. They're coming again, Newcastle.
Yeah, and there's a real brilliant confidence against Newcastle. I have to say I'm slightly surprised just how dominant they've been. I expected more from Qarabağ.
Elanga through the middle. Gordon now, it opens up for him. Left foot shot. Goalkeeper saves it with his legs as he comes out. That was a big chance to make it 3-0. Gordon couldn't finish, but they've got it back again. Elanga now, he's challenged by Jankovic, and then it runs away and Medina is able to step in. This is absolutely relentless. It's like the final minutes of a cup tie, never mind the first quarter of an hour of the first leg of a 2-legged tie.
And you look at Qarabağ trying to do the same, but they just cannot keep up. with the pace and the zip that Newcastle are putting into this game, they should probably try and slow it down a little bit. As I said, that they are trying to just to get some sort of belief and hope about themselves, because they get absolutely blasted away just now, and it 2-0 down so quickly. Honestly, John, it could be 5, couldn't it? Already less than 15 minutes in, they've created that many clear-cut chances, Newcastle.
Yeah, Barnes' chances.
Yeah.
That one there for Gordon. I mean,
Great
that was a more straightforward chance than the one that he scored.
Yes.
But already 2 goals from Anthony Gordon. That was a very good finish, just into the 3rd minute, I think it was. And then Malik Chow, 6 minutes later, after the well-worked corner, eventually heading down and in at the back post. So 2-0 to Newcastle. 5 live from the BBC Radio Newcastle with us as well. Voltemada has won it back halfway inside his own half. Voltemada bring it forward in that way that he does, dropping a shoulder, giving it to Barnes. Barnes now into the area, still trying to work a position, defenders coming back, and then Barnes with a shot from the edge of the area, set up by Gordon. Barnes with a shot that took a deflection on its way wide. Another corner to Newcastle.
It is the classic, every time they attack they can score from Newcastle, because of the way they're attacking, because of the fact that the Qarabağ defence, they don't look as if they're working together. Most of them, the 2 fullbacks don't look like natural defenders. They actually look like wing backs who want to go forward. I mean, there is a stat here just saying Qarabağ have got 52.9% in possession. I bet you that's not the opposition half, because every time that they get the ball, and that's 7 efforts that Newcastle have had to Qarabağ 0 so far.
Well, last time they had the corner on the left-hand side from which they scored.
Can't do that twice.
Tonali's taking this one. This is a deep one, but it's over the top of the stretching Gordon, and it's all the way behind for a goal kick.
The reason why Tonali didn't take the first one is because he was to be on the edge of the area for the shot for the first one for the dummy. I mean, it's an interesting short corner. I've seen a couple of real crackers recently where the kind of set-piece coaches are doing different and unusual things, but this was the one that Tonali nearly scored with. It was that very old one, play it towards the edge of the box, and then the player just runs over it to leave a big gap for you to run on, and it almost worked.
Surely, Pat, this match can't continue like this for 90 minutes.
I don't think it's actually in Newcastle's interests to play at this pace. As mentioned before, Saturday night they've got a big game against Manchester City away from home, and they have got a limited squad here. I mean, if they could get another goal, make it 3, you would imagine then you just slow it down, conserve a little bit of energy, and don't take anything out of the tank that you don't need to.
Joe Linton is on the bench, having missed or not played in the last 6 matches, so Newcastle relieved to have him back, but obviously no Bruno Guimaraes, who's going to be out for quite a few weeks actually. He's back in Brazil receiving treatment, Eddie Howe was telling us here yesterday. And no Miley, he's not here. Botman's not here. Wissa's not here either. But I think a fair number of those players might be involved at the weekend. We'll see. Voltemada scoops it forward, but actually Barnes slips inside the box. So Qarabağ are able to clear through Mustafa Zada, and the ball bounces out onto the running track down in front of us, just close to where Gurbanov is standing. He is the 3rd longest serving manager stroke coach in the world at a professional club. 18 years this summer.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And even losing 6 now. Oh, that's
Montiel
not good.
has gone down, grabbing his hamstring.
Totally off the box. He's saying he get clipped.
Oh.
He was so far away from the...
And now suddenly has got up and sprinted towards Tonali.
We're not actually trusting that Montiel was badly injured there, are we?
We both did when he went down, clutching his hamstring.
He's going for the Oscar there.
Well, that was a strange one. Here's Alanga attacking down the right, it's not cleared away, and then he's fouled by Tepaguliev, who was beaten and then just went down, landed on top of him, conceded the free kick, and Newcastle have got a set piece in the Qarabağ left-back area.
Very good news for Newcastle fans. Alanga really is coming into a game now, isn't he? You see the sharpness there, the zip. There really did seem a lack of confidence. I mean, he had his injuries obviously in the first game, but he came into the team, and even though they were trying to get behind them, the fans, there was a frustration. Well, the last 2 or 3 games, well, it's the old Alanga that we saw it for us, isn't it? He looks very, very good indeed.
Yeah, or much more like it, is what I would say. He came in, actually they put him up to speak to the media yesterday, and he was quite engaging, I must say. Anthony Elanga. Free kick. Newcastle then, this is another good opportunity here, already 2-0 up. Hall works it across, goalkeeper gets a punch on it, could have gone absolutely anywhere. It was deflected across the goal. I mean, it was full length dive, wasn't it? Fist outstretched, got a punch on it, and Zubier, the captain, was able to get the ball down and win a throw-in for Qarabağ off Anthony Gordon, and Mustafa Zadeh has ended up sitting down inside his own penalty area, so a little stoppage here.
Yeah, he's actually been struggling for the past 5 or 10 minutes. He's not really been able to get up to full pace, and I think the Newcastle players have spotted that. I mean, they were just sprinting towards him at every opportunity, but I watched him running back a couple of times, and he was definitely hobbling, absolutely. So
they may have to make a change. Indeed, they are going to make a change, so that's a big disappointment. Mustafa Zadeh, who has started all of the matches in the Champions League, one of their key players, really, Azerbaijan international, scored the late winner against Eintracht Frankfurt in the last Champions League home match during the course of the league phase, which made him the first Azerbaijani to score in the Champions League. So this is quite a loss, and obviously it means that he must be a doubt for St James's Park next week, you would think.
Do you know, when I watched him right from the start of the game, I was wondering, are you really that slow, or is there something wrong here? And I suspect he's had an injury and thought, I'll give it a go. And you may as well give it a go, because there's no point coming on as a sub and injured and having it come off again. The problem is, if you come out and give it a go against this Newcastle team and you're 2 goals down because you've not been able to chase, not a good thing.
So this might be a bit of a reject, Pat, because Danny Bolt has come on, another Brazilian who's a right back, and it does look as though perhaps Mateus Silva is going to move across from right back to play in central defence. Montiel's in danger of losing it, and then Mateus Silva puts his foot through it and clears it away over the halfway line, and Newcastle are back in possession. If you've just switched on, an early finish to Drive tonight on 5 Live to bring you Champions League commentary, this first leg of this knockout playoff tie between Qarabağ and Newcastle United, which has started brilliantly, really, for Newcastle United. 2 early goals, and they are in control as free kick is conceded by Voltemada near the centre circle. But they're quite the loss for Qarabağ to lose a player. 2-0 down.
By the way, I thought Voltemada got the ball there. So I was quite surprised by that. I mean, look, the referee's a lot closer than us, but it shouldn't be a yellow card or anything like that. But it's a brilliant start for Newcastle, and for Qarabağ, I mentioned that player Silva, who was playing right back and looked really out of place. Let's see if he looks a little bit more comfortable playing at centre back. It probably is more comfortable. He just, sometimes you see a player, and if you played out wide, you see it all the time, you don't seem to get the positions right, and he just was all over the place at the start.
And Danny Bolt, who's come on, Bolt is actually a nickname. His name is Daniel Lima de Castro, but Bolt refers to the pace that he has, as in Usain Bolt. He is Brazilian, and they got him from the Portuguese Division 2. This is typical Qarabağ, isn't it? And signed him last summer, and now he's a part of this amazing story that they've put together, Qarabağ, the Azerbaijani champions, the dominant force in Azerbaijan football, but making waves in the Champions League until now. Here is Bolt. His cross from the right is blocked by Dan Burn, out for a throw-in down the right-hand side. So throw-in to Qarabağ. If you have, as I say, switched on for Drive, we will have a full roundup of the news at half-time. So that will be coming up in round about 20 minutes or so, and also more on last night's event involving Vinicius Junior. Ball is played forward by Qarabağ, but Pope is comfortably out before Tefaguliev can get there and is able to gather the ball.
You hear the noise when he runs forward. Now, obviously the fans here know what he does. He's an easy one to spot with those boots as well, the bright orange boots on the far side, but he flies, and if you've got Mr. Bolt one side and him the other side, I think they want to overlap.
Here is Bolt playing the ball forward as Tonali arrives, and Bolt's gone down trying to win the free kick, and the referee's having none of that. He's given a throw into Newcastle halfway inside the visitors' half. So 2-0 Newcastle lead. This commentary coming to you live from the Tofik Bakramov Stadium, which, if you don't know already, Tofik Bakramov was the Russian linesman in the 1966 World Cup final. He was Russian in those days, Soviet times, but he was from Azerbaijan. Here's Tonali. Then infield to Gordon, just outside the area, and Barnes is in, but out comes goalkeeper Kuchalski and got something on that to deflect it wide and up and over the top corner. And again, Newcastle could have scored another.
Incredible how easy they're going through that defence, that midfield there. Gordon had three options there, didn't he? He could have gone left, he could have gone right, he could have shot himself there. I actually think he chose the wrong option. He found Barnes with a flick ball to his left-hand side, but there was so much more space on the right there, and they're absolutely spoiled for choice with chances just now, Newcastle.
Well, Chelsea came here in the league phase. It finished 2-2. Newcastle 2-0 up. I mean, this is 2-0 going on 6 or 7. Corner for Newcastle. Trippier does take this one into the 6-yard box. Goalkeeper comes, gets a two-handed punch on that to the edge of the area. Zubair clears it out. Then Elanga lofts one forward, rather sliced it up in the air. Chow got his head to it. Ball's bounced out of the penalty area now. Qarabağ look to break. Abdallah Zubair now. Abdallah Zubair, the home fans thinking that something might come from this. Camilo Duran on the left-hand side, his ball across is deflected behind, and it's a Qarabağ corner.
Do you see who is centre forward there? I can't believe that guy, Zafar Guliev. He was centre forward in the break. Honestly, if he keeps that going for the entirety of the game, someone will buy him tomorrow afternoon.
Corner is taken short. Ball played into the middle, it bounces away from Camilo Duran. Newcastle were able to clear. Now Zubair into the penalty area, still going, and then Tonali with the... He tracked him actually, and as he looked across it, Tonali stuck out a foot, blocked it behind another Qarabağ corner. And
they've taken it short, and if they could get a goal back, you just never know.
Montiel's ball across, takes a double flick off Newcastle heads. I think Voltemade first, and then off the top of Lewis Hall's head, out for a throw-in on the right-hand side. As Qarabağ take the throw-in and get moving again. Absolutely right, Pat. Even though Newcastle have had all of the chances, a goal back for Qarabağ, given the way that they've played here in this competition this season. As they attack through the middle, challenge goes in on Duran, no free kick. Elanga then loses possession on the halfway line. Qarabağ have got it back.
The reality is Eddie Howe's thinking this tie should be over, and if they got a goal back and it's 2-1, but they look as if they're going to create more.
Oh, Willock, lovely ball across. Barnes, Gordon's onto it. Oh, goalkeeper makes the save. Coming out, I'm not sure he knew a great deal about that. Stuck out an arm and deflected it wide for a corner.
Who is Anthony Gordon behind in goals this season? Mbappe, Haaland. He could be level with them already in this one game. The opportunities had. Now, well done, Anthony Gordon, getting into those positions. And it has to be said, Kuchalski's done very well on the goal there quite a few times. But chance after chance after chance from fabulous play by Newcastle. They just look quicker, don't they? Much quicker than the opposition.
They're cutting a swathe right through the middle of the Qarabağ team, time after time after time. Almost every time they come forward. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 2. 5 Live and Radio Newcastle from the BBC. Corner to be taken from the right this time, Lewis Hall. There is actually an Azerbaijan flag on one of 3 flagpoles over there, fluttering away. That's a tiny one in comparison to the one off the Caspian Sea coast. Hall takes this short to Gordon, and then Hall across. Barnes right foot, that's blocked. Then back for the shot from Willock, which is also blocked inside the penalty area. Yet again, another chance, but Qarabağ had bodies in the way.
I mean, a well worked free kick, a corner kick again. They've really been, you think about it, how much time does Eddie Howe have in the training ground with all the games they've got? Well, I've got enough. I think he's doing them off a laptop. So brilliant work there. 2 great chances, one to Elanga as well. It's actually quite incredible. It's only 2-0 just now. They have played so well, Newcastle.
5 Live Sport. Newcastle 2-0 up here. We'll keep you across all of the other matches this evening in the Champions League.
Checking for penalty kick.
And there is a penalty check.
It was fired in low. And you know what? If you've stopped it during play, it's going to be given, isn't it?
I think it might be for the Barnes shot.
Oh, yes.
Just looking, there's a television just down to our left, and it depends whether the referee has been called across. The defender who blocked it was diving across, and it's one of those, Pat, where they have to decide if he's using a supporting arm or whether he's effectively acting like a goalkeeper and blocking the shot.
Well, the VAR absolutely think he's blocking it. I mean, your hand's going down, his hand's down on the ground where you'd have to put your hand to steady yourself. So there's a bit of me that thinks, oh, that would be harsh. On the other hand, had his hand not been there, the ball probably goes into the goal.
Trying to see which defender it is. I mean, he's throwing himself sort of feet first, and his arm is back behind him. Here comes the referee. There's the rectangle. Penalty to Newcastle after a handball which blocked the shot of Harvey Barnes, which was on target. That's a factor as well. And so it is a chance for Newcastle to finally get the third goal.
I don't think I've ever seen a game stopped mid-play to have a look at VAR and the decision then not given. If they stop it during mid-play, they're pretty sure it's got to be a penalty kick. So,
and I know I was at the Nations League draw last week where Roberto Rossetti, the head man for all of the referees, gave us an address, sort of a briefing on how they feel currently, and he was very definitive on what is handball and what isn't. And I know that will probably make people raise their eyebrows, but I think the message is very clear to UEFA officials when to give them and when not to. And so Anthony Gordon, who already could have a hat-trick, is going to take the penalty for Newcastle. He has been very effective from the spot this season. 6 of his 11 goals so far have been penalties. So Gordon placing the ball, stepping back. This is at the end to our left. Goalkeeper Kochalski on the line. He's made a string of saves. But now, Gordon, this to really drive home Newcastle United's advantage. Still early in this tie. Gordon just shrugs his shoulders. Arms down by his sides. Takes a big deep breath. He's ready now. Right-footed with a penalty. And an excellent penalty. High above the dive of Kochalski to his right. And it is now Newcastle United leading here in Baku by 3-0 against the Azerbaijan champions Qarabağ, and that is the least they deserve.
Yeah, that's reflective. That's the score it should be just now. What was interesting, I mean, it was a brilliant corner kick initially that led to it, wasn't it? They played it beautifully. It led to a clear shot and goal. In fact, 2 clear shots and goals, one of them being Elanga in the previous one, obviously being Harvey Barnes there. But 3-0 now, you can relax now. You couldn't relax before that completely, because if Qarabağ got a goal back, you know, these crowd, I say they'd be lifted. They've not really died down. They were 2-0 down and they kept on going. They kept on getting behind their team. They might get a wee bit disappointed now, because 3-0 is a big defeat. Just after, well, a big scoreline after just 30 minutes at home.
So there we are, Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 3, and just over half an hour played. Anthony Gordon now 12 goals this season, which means that for Newcastle this season he is the joint leading scorer now with Harvey Barnes. Given away, and Gordon's in again for the hat-trick round the goalkeeper and stabs it in. It's 4-0 and Anthony Gordon has a Champions League hat-trick here in Baku, and Newcastle have the tightest of grips on this tie. Given away so carelessly, and Gordon was ruthless. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 4.
Well, congratulations to anyone who scores a hat-trick in Champions League. So well done getting there, Anthony Gordon. His pace has absolutely destroyed that defence, and by the way, goalkeeper Kochalski's down just now. Actually, he's lost 4 goals. He's probably been their best player, in fact, for the left full-back. That tells you how far they've been ahead. And considering what we've seen, other than the game at Liverpool from Qarabağ, we expected a lot more. At the moment, they're looking a little bit amateurish, and certainly from defence outwards, they just do not look like a unit. And it is one of these ones where I say it could get ugly. It's ugly already, and it could get very ugly for them.
Well, it's making the second leg at St James's Park look like a foregone conclusion. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 4. Anthony Gordon with the hat-trick. It was Medina who was caught in possession, the left-sided central defender. But Newcastle and Gordon were just all over them, not allowing them to settle. Got the ball back, goalkeeper came out, Gordon was around him and then was able to get to the ball just to stab it in.
Well, you got to underline it. You know, Eddie Howe, that's not a fluke. Eddie Howe's looked at them, he's watched their games and said, right, you ain't good enough in the ball at back, we're just going to close you down. As you say, look at Anthony Gordon's away again, closing them down every moment. They're just not quick enough with the ball at their feet to move it around. And maybe they're playing, obviously, in the Azerbaijani League, you've got time to do that. And maybe in earlier rounds of the Champions League, given a wee bit too much respect. Well, given absolutely no respect by Newcastle. And to be fair, they've not really deserved it with what they've shown.
No, they haven't. Gordon's been ruthless, Newcastle have been ruthless. Those third and fourth goals, Gordon's second and third, scored in the space of 2 minutes. So that means Gordon is now ahead of Harvey Barnes for Newcastle goals this season. 13 for Newcastle, and that is 9 in the Champions League. So for Anthony Gordon, having been fourth on the Champions League goals list this season, has now catapulted himself above Haaland and Kane into second on that list. So Mbappe with 13, then Gordon with 9, Kane with 8, Haaland with 7.
Well, after his first goal and 2 or 3 misses, I almost slightly facetiously said he could catch them. Well, he's there, and do you know what? There's no reason why he should be finished now, because if the opposition go and attack and he's got space to run in behind the centre back, they're just nowhere near the pace of Anthony Gordon.
So it's the Newcastle United voices that you can hear. Over to our right, the other end, Barnes into the penalty area again, only half away by Medina. Hall gets it down on the edge of the box, scraped away to comparative safety by Bicalio, and now Johnny Montiel will bring it forward, but Newcastle have 3 men around him, and Montiel is forced. All he can do is run it out of play, and it's a throw into Newcastle on the halfway line. They have been relentless. It's not too cold here, I must say, but you can see the player's breath on the air as Voltemada hits it out to the right. Now Elanga, and Eddie Howe with his team selection tonight. I mean, he didn't really have too many options, did he? But all of the attacking players out there on the field, and Voltemada playing in a slightly deeper role, but with Gordon, Barnes, Elanga, Voltemada. I mean, the threat is there wherever, whichever side, or indeed in the middle it comes, and Qarabağ just haven't been able to deal with it.
Yeah, to be fair, Harvey Barnes could have had a hat-trick himself so far, couldn't he have, as well, from this left-hand side. And we talk about Alanga looking very, very sharp, lively, very quick over that right-hand side as well. Danger everywhere. Super
play by Byrne, again stepping forward, giving it to Voltemada. He's beaten 2 men. Now he's moving infield from left to right, still being challenged by Bicalio, but he keeps possession for Newcastle and gives it to Tonali, who plays it back to Chow. He's the other goal scorer if you've just joined us. Chow's ball across reaches Barnes, and then Danny Bolt in with a challenge on him, but Lewis Hall in with a challenge on Danny Bolt, and it's out for a throw into Newcastle, just about level with the edge of the penalty area. The Qarabağ supporters, and as I said before the match, you really can't understate what a big occasion this was and how much anticipated it was. Well, what a disappointment for the home supporters, who've seen some real thrills and spills here during the course of this Champions League season. They beat Copenhagen here by a couple of goals to nil, the 2-2 draw with Chelsea, and okay, they lost to Ajax, but that was 4-2, that was a thriller, before the dramatic win with a late goal against Eintracht Frankfurt. But here, Newcastle have just been a cut above, and Medina is playing it back to his goalkeeper Kuchalski. I've lost count of the number of saves that he's made, despite being beaten 4 times. And then Bicalio up to Johnny Montiel. I think Leandro Andrade wanted him to let that run for the Brazilian to take it, but it's the Spaniard Montiel up against Lewis Hall infield. Leandro Andrade, he's got 3 Newcastle players around him. He plays it off the shins of Byrne, and the ball bounces away behind for a Qarabağ corner from the right. 4-0 Newcastle lead, and we're still 5 or 6 minutes away from half time.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the amount of saves he's made, that's 14 shots on goal, and I think the ones that haven't gone in have been saved, and pretty well saved most of the time as well.
Producer Chris says 5 of them were saves. Corner then, Montiel in, but far too close to Nick Pope, who catches that, as they used to say, as easy as shelling peas. And he just underarms it out to Trippier, then forward to Elanga, and Elanga now skips past one challenge. Actually, he's fouled. He's brought down by Di Caglio, and it's a free kick to Newcastle near the right corner of the box. So a corner at one end for Qarabağ, poor, and then suddenly Newcastle are down the other end winning a set piece.
Sympathy vote for the referee there. That's a yellow card all day long. He's just gone away and just hooked his legs away from him there. But you know, you would feel sorry for Qarabağ if they were brought down to 10 men, which is capable. They look clumsy. They look almost elephantine trying to tackle these Newcastle players who are just so much quicker, so much more nimble.
Just watch the Qarabağ media officer, their head of media, walk up the steps in front of us with his hands in his pockets and his shoulders stooped. Sort of sums up really this first half, with the Newcastle United supporters in great voice, and well they might be. Trippier flicks the free kick, then it's curled in, Burn with a header, but it's straight at Kuchelski, who's able to catch it on the goal line into his chest.
You dream of this many chances in a game of football, clear-cut ones. I'm talking about the height, but it's every single part of the game that Newcastle are much better, and to give Dan Burn that amount of space is just ridiculous.
So it is Newcastle attacking again. Voltemada, in comes the challenge, which has gone behind for a corner. Mateus Silva tried to make the referee think that it was a goal kick, but the referee thought about it.
He hadn't got a clue, did he?
No.
He had no idea.
And actually, I think he's saying the assistant now on the far side has told him it's not a corner, it's a goal kick.
And I think they got it right. Oddly, the referee just looked and waited for the more confident protest, and that actually came from Voltemada, who just calmly, coolly walked towards the corner flag with the ball. But no, goal kick, and they're still playing it out from the back, John.
Oh, the goalkeeper has kicked it straight out for a corner. He took it square to Mateus Silva, who passed it back to him, and goalkeeper Kuchelski sliced. I mean, that can't have been too far away from actually kicking it into his own net.
I have to say I'm quite shocked.
And he's now kicked the post. The goalkeeper's kicked the post in anguish and frustration.
And Anthony Gordon's like, he's got his arm round him saying, look, don't worry about it, mate. It's really odd. It's very, very, very odd to see a team under. Look, they're perfectly capable of playing better than this, but they are having a total stinker tonight.
Tonali with the corner for Newcastle. In it goes underneath the crossbar. The goalkeeper comes in, gets a punch on it. It's almost last ditch, that. So it was curling in under the near post, under the crossbar, and the goalkeeper just got a punch up and over the bar.
You know, Tonali tried to score there. It's one of those games where you can try anything, and he's absolutely tried to score for the corner kick there, Tonali. Just the way he set himself up for it.
The old Chris Waddle speciality. Tonali is going to try again. Still one or two Qarabağ flags in the stands are being waved. In it goes from Tonali to the back post. Goalkeeper gets a punch on it. Voldemada's in there. The whistle's gone, and it's a free kick to Qarabağ inside their own 6-yard box. And I hope for their own well-being that they actually just take this away downfield.
One very important thing I don't think we've explained to the listeners yet: there is unlikely to be the fans invading the pitch tonight, isn't there?
So there's a running track around the pitch, and the entirety of the stand, which is a massive oval down at the front of the stands, all the way around. If you're watching on TV or you see the TV pictures and you wonder who are they, there are soldiers in yellow fluorescent jackets all the way around. There are hundreds of them. I mean, the Azerbaijan army must be here en masse. And actually we saw armoured cars, we saw how many different personnel carriers outside the ground. We wondered about that, yeah. Now we know why. Here's Barnes carrying it forward for Newcastle, but Danny Bolt has given it away. Gordon could be in again. Goalkeeper comes out. Oh, at the feet of Gordon. I think he's fouled him. It's a penalty. It's a penalty to Newcastle. Kuchelski out. Gordon just got the touch away from him. Kuchelski had committed himself, brought down Gordon, and they're going to have a chance for 5-0 before half-time.
It is amateur hour, honestly. You can't play like that. There's been play that I've never seen at this level being produced. You know, Champions League level, you cannot even consider that you would play so poorly from defence. It looks as if they've put a bunch of players in that defence that have never actually met each other, been formally introduced, or indeed actually ever played in the position. It's awful.
Oh, it is a penalty as well. I've just seen it on that television screen to our left. As I did wonder, there is a delay, but Gordon gets a touch on it. Goalkeeper's committed, takes him out.
It takes the touch and then he trails his legs and takes the hit, which sadly is absolutely a penalty kick. He knows the keeper's going to do it. He knows that's just what it is. And as I say, Anthony Gordon again.
Well, a chance to score 4 goals now in a Champions League match. Going to be getting out the record books at half-time.
Absolutely, yeah, I was going to say that.
So it's already 4-0. We're in the 45th minute. Kuchalski, who conceded the penalty, has just been told by the referee to stay on his line. 3 minutes of added time. And Anthony Gordon now, what a night he and Newcastle are having. This from the penalty spot, chance to score his second penalty kick and his 4th goal of the first half. Gordon waiting. The last one went to the goalkeeper's right, taking his time as he likes to do. And here he comes now, right-footed, gone the other way and ended up in the net as well. Another excellent penalty. Kuchalski guessed right again, went to his left, but it was high above him into the net. What a first half in this Champions League knockout playoff tie Newcastle United have had here in the Azerbaijan capital. It's 5-0 and Anthony Gordon has scored 4 of them. So 10 goals now in the Champions League for him this season, 14 for Newcastle for the season. What a half for him, what a half for Newcastle and Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I was so delighted. I was thinking if you can get to 3, you take the foot off the gas. Nope, you're going to go and enjoy it if you're Newcastle. And there's goals there to be scored, and what confidence it gives you as well if you go and score plenty of goals and make plenty of chances. One of the things I was going to say to you after 4, I was so impressed by the Qarabağ fans that nobody was leaving. Well, I'm not convinced that's the case anymore. Obviously they might be going down for a cup of tea or a beer or whatever, but I think they want to go now. I haven't said that, the stands aren't emptying yet, but at 5-0 there are many other sets of fans who would be gone by now.
Well, that is an astonishing first half for Newcastle. Astonishing, really. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 5. The Newcastle players just crossing back over the halfway line finally after the celebrations. So 3 minutes of added time, and Qarabağ, I mean the deflation, you can feel it inside the stadium here as the ball's played back and almost lost there on the edge of the penalty area again. In fact, Voldemada bounces away from him. Lewis Hall's taking it on. Newcastle looking for a 6th before the break. Hall with a cross deep to the back post past Gordon, and it bounces away to much relief in the home stands for Qarabağ to clear it away. And forward it goes for Montiel. But what a disappointment for these home fans. As I say, this has been so anticipated here in this city. It has been on the lips of everyone. Everywhere you go inside the city, waterfront, Old Town, wherever we've been, people want to talk to you about this football match. And half-time, not even half-time, it's 5-0 to Newcastle. And the Newcastle United supporters, I'm not sure they could believe their eyes.
They're way in the far end. They've not had any goals up their end yet. They're hoping to see some in the second half.
5 at one end. Well, here is Leandro Andrade getting the ball across, falling down. Burns able to head it away. Chow with the challenge on Zubia, who went down far too easily. And Tonali plays it up to Alanga, and Alanga taking on Tepaguliev. Tepaguliev is fouled, and it's a free kick to Qarabağ halfway inside their own half. And I think that'll be it for a remarkable first half of action, really, here. 5-0 to Newcastle. And of course now as well, with that match against Manchester City on Saturday night, you know, when it gets to the last half hour, Eddie Howe can make as many changes as he can, really, and there is the half-time whistle. And it's kicked away in frustration by the left-back, Tepaguliev. The Newcastle fans on their feet, applauding their players off the pitch. 5-0 at the break, and Anthony Gordon scored 4 of them. Malik Chow the other with a header. 2 penalties from Gordon. But Qarabağ, they've been sorry in the first half. Newcastle, relentless, ruthless, call it what you like, but extraordinary score.
Absolutely extraordinary, and well done Eddie Howe, seeing where the weaknesses are. and put out a team that can make sure that you show every weakness up at every single given opportunity. But you know, I don't want to take anything away from Newcastle. Look, you've gone away from home, you're 5-0 up. You've played some great football. Your energy has been great, your attitude's been great, and you've been lovely to watch. And we know all that, and I take nothing away from it. But you can hear the buck coming a mile away, can't you? I mean, it was absolutely dreadful what we saw from that defence. And you remember, there's been times you've seen teams, you know, in Premier League in the last few years, playing out for the back, and you're thinking, you're not good enough to do that. And they maybe lose a goal or two. They could have lost 10 tonight doing that. And do you know what? They ain't stopped doing it. Stunning.
So there we are on Radio Newcastle. Be handing you back to Simon Pride, John Anderson. But here on 5 Live, Qarabağ 0, Newcastle 5, Mark Chapman.
Just to show that they aren't going to take their foot off the pedal here, I don't know if you saw as they walked off at half-time, but it looked like Kieran Trippier and Anthony Gordon were arguing with each other over something. So
I think I know what.
What was it? Go on.
Well, Anthony Gordon got the ball at one point and he was just outside the 18-yard line, and he tried to flick a ball through to his left-hand side to Harvey Barnes, and he got it through, but he was slightly behind him. Trippier was flying the outside right position, he just had a smash in, and he's still fuming about it. They are wanting more goals, they really are.
The match stats are on the one hand, frightening and also slightly amusing as well. Newcastle have had 16 total shots, 11 of those have been on target. They've had 10 big chances. Their expected goals is 4.49. Qarabağ haven't had any, haven't had a shot, haven't had a big chance. Their expected goals is 0. Amusingly, and this shows what you could do with your possession stats from time to time, the possession is 50% each. but that's the thing, Pat. They've got 5. They could have had 8 easily.
I've said during the commentary there they could have 10. I honestly believe 10 was fine. That's not an exaggeration. It often is when you say, we could have scored 10 goals. No exaggeration. The Dan Burn header, he could easily have scored that one. It was a clear one. Chow header at the back, that's an easy one.
Harvey Barnes, if Harvey Barnes had scored, that would have been one of the great team goals, actually.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you could go on here. It's not an exaggeration. 5-0 is absolutely no flattery at all. But you still have to do it. I remember our own manager used to say, like, if you put 11 cones out there, it's sometimes hard to score past them.
Yeah.
Well, this is not far off, I have to say. And it's a real shame. And I don't want to be, completely dismissive of a team, from Qarabağ who've done incredibly well to get here. And, have really taken some decent teams to the wire. But to watch them, I think what it is, chappers, you get a certain distance and then you come up against teams that have got enough background on you to say, right, that's a weakness. We've got our good coaches, we've got our analysts, and we know where the weakness is, right? So they've got it and they've nailed it. So what you do as a top team is then go, right, we'll stop doing that now. But they haven't. They keep on doing it, and you're thinking, there's nobody else at the top level that will keep on doing those stupid things, playing out at the back when you're not good enough. It is absolute a form of madness to do something wrong then keep on doing it.
And I have reached for the record books, Mark, and I can tell you that, remember, this is Newcastle's 18th season in European club competitions, and this scoreline already would equal their largest win in the European club competitions, all of the competitions. So they had a 5-0 win away at Royal Antwerp in the UEFA Cup in 94-95, and also a 5-0 win at home to NAC Breda in the UEFA Cup in 03-04. So it stays like this. It all gets bigger. That would be their record win in Europe.
Thank you, Norris McWhirter, or for younger listeners, Chris Akabusi. Out of interest, John, are you down to do the second leg?
Yes, I am actually.
Are you?
Are you coming up for that one?
It's a Tuesday. That's Kelly's night, as you know.
I thought you worked every day.
No. Are you going to try and get out of that between now and then, or are you?
Certainly not.
Good.
Don't know what you're suggesting.
But back with John and Pat for the second half shortly. We'll talk Winter Olympics and the latest with Vinicius Junior during half-time. First, Bethan Holmes with the news.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Supreme Court has ruled a child injured at birth through medical negligence can sue the NHS for what they would have earned in their lifetime. Until now, they could only be awarded damages for lost earnings based on their life expectancy. Our health editor is Hugh Pym.
In the case of this girl, the expected lifespan would be until the age of 29, so any lost earnings up until then could be considered, but not those beyond. And as the court heard today, it was ruled that it was expected she could potentially, if she hadn't been injured at birth, have continued working till the age of 68. And that gap, which had not been allowed under the law before, is now going to be allowed.
At least 9 police forces in Britain say they're now either investigating, assessing information, asking for witnesses to come forward or reviewing records after the release of the Epstein files. Surrey police are urging anyone with information to contact them about claims of human trafficking and sexual assault from the mid-1990s, which appeared in the files. The force says they found no evidence that the allegations were reported at the time. It says a number of other forces are looking at private flights that travelled in and out of several airports in the UK, including Stansted, Luton and Birmingham. In other news, NHS bosses are warning a shortage of medical cement, which is used in knee and hip replacements, is likely to lead to delays for a number of patients. The UK's main supplier has temporarily halted production. The Prime Minister has reiterated the government's commitment to plans to pay adults, no matter their age, the same minimum wage. In their election manifesto, Labour pledged to boost the wages of 18 to 20-year-olds so they are paid the same as those 21 and over. But government sources say ministers are looking at delaying that rise. Here's Sir Keir Starmer.
We've made a commitment in relation to youth minimum wage and in addition to that, of course, as I said a moment ago, in April the minimum wages will go up again, so for young people that'll make a big difference. And of course inflation today has come down to 3%, which again makes life a lot more affordable.
And Mark Zuckerberg is being questioned for the first time in a US court about Instagram's effect on the mental health of young users as a landmark trial over social media addiction continues. Google's YouTube is also a defendant in the case. Our correspondent Peter Bowes is there.
This is being described as a bellwether case because there are quite literally more than 1,000 other potential plaintiffs, people who want to bring very similar lawsuits as this one. And the judge in this case has chosen this particular case brought by a woman who is now 20, who says she started using social media as a child, YouTube and then Instagram, and that it has caused her damage to her health, to her mental health.
Well, both Meta and Google have denied the allegations against them. Let's get the travel now. Here's Orna.
Bethan, thank you. So Glasgow Festival and the M77 heading south around the M8 at Plantation at Junction 22. It's been really slow there. Heading towards Junction 1 at Dumbreck Road. The M60 over Barton Bridge. It's starting to ease a bit now, but clockwise queues have been there for quite a while. At Junction 12 at the Eccles interchange. The M62 westbound, 28 at Tingley. 2 lanes have been closed to clear a breakdown off the road. The M1 southbound and Junction 13 at Bedford, everything was being held back. That was to clear an accident off the road. The latest on the M4, still closed both directions between 11 at Reading and 10 at Wokingham. That's because of the electrical repairs to a pylon at the side of the motorway. The A329M still busy on both approaches to Junction 10 of the M4 at Wokingham. That's part of the diversion. You've got the M25 looking slow as well, heading towards the Dartford crossing. Those queues still there from 3 at the Swanley interchange, the M20, and the M25 clockwise at 23 at the A1M has 2 lanes closed for a broken down lorry, with the queues backing up to the M1 at Junction 21. Orna Merchant, 5 Live Travel.
A new era of Formula One is about to dawn.
I think the biggest step the sport has ever seen.
There are new rules, new cars, and a brand new team.
In Formula One, it's just absolute, brutal, pure competition.
And the next generation of star drivers are taking us along for the ride too.
I'm gonna go like a madman.
If you want to make it, first of all, you have to believe that you have what it takes.
The biggest shake-up of F1's rulebook has been years in the making.
Somebody's gonna get it right and somebody's gonna get it wrong.
I'm Rosamund Pike, and this is F1 Back at Base, a new era. Listen first on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports, the Champions League with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Qarabağ 0, Newcastle 5 at half-time. Back with John Murray and Pat Nevin shortly. Let's go to the Winter Olympics, where in the curling, both Britain's men and women are fighting, or have been fighting today, to keep their semi-final hopes alive. Britain's women in action for the second time today as well at the moment against Japan. Katie Smith can tell us how it all lies.
Yeah, and remarkably, the scoreline bigger in the football than it is in the curling at the moment, Mark. But Britain, just to give you the lay of the land, came off the back of this fantastic win this morning, stealing it against the USA in the final end when it looked like certain defeat. They had to win that to keep their semi-final hopes alive. Hopes are still slim that they'll reach the final four. So this is must win again. They're playing Japan. They also have to beat Italy tomorrow morning, but you never know. So they're currently on 3 wins, 4 losses, Great Britain. 5 might be enough. Some of the other teams they're battling against for that 4th spot in the table also playing at the moment. So basically it's like football, permutations galore. It'll hopefully become more clear over the next few hours. I guess though it does make the task pretty simple for GB here. They're still relatively inexperienced, just the one returner from the gold medal winning group from 4 years ago, and they're dominating Japan at the moment. So we are just about coming to the conclusion of the third end, but Great Britain with a big score of 3 in the second, so leading 3-0. Just to tell you about the men as well, so all still alive for them. They beat the USA earlier as well in their final round robin match, played some of their best so far. Question is it too little too late? So their fate is tied now to Norway and Italy, who both lost today, which is what Great Britain needed. They now need one of them to lose again tomorrow morning, then they will be guaranteed into the top 4 and into the semi-final. So a bit of a nervous wait tomorrow for the men.
OK, Katie, thank you. She'll keep us updated with the curling throughout the evening. You can watch it on BBC Two at the moment. Let's get more now on the story which has dominated football since last night. Real Madrid's tie at Benfica being halted for 10 minutes after Vinicius Jr. reported alleged racist abuse from Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani. Prestiani and Benfica deny any wrongdoing. Our Spanish football reporter Elizabeth Conway joins us from Madrid. Where are we at now then, Elizabeth? What's the latest?
Well, Mark, we've had accusations of racism and cowardice, followed by an counter-accusation of defamation and victimisation today. The latest statements come from FIFA President Gianni Infantino. He said he was shocked and saddened by the incident and commended the referee for activating that anti-racism protocol. We've also, in the last few minutes, just seen a statement from Mark Clattenburg, who's apologised and said he got it wrong. That was after comments he made during the game yesterday, where he said Vinicius made the situation very, very difficult for the referee. But he apologised today and said nothing justifies racism in sport or in life.
Guillaume Balaguer has written an article on the BBC Sport website, which has just gone up, and we'll talk to Guillaume later during EuroLeagues from 9:30. And he's written 8 years Vinicius Jr. has been at Real Madrid, and there have been, involving him, 20 cases of alleged racist abuse. So how are things being viewed in Madrid at the moment?
Well, you're right. It's an abysmal statistic when you read it out like that. And outlets here in Madrid have been equally as shocked and have described it as a global scandal. It's dominated headlines across the country. I think the hostility towards Vinicius Jr., there's no doubt that it's real, but it's important to say, Mark, that it does exist in Madrid too. Only a few weeks ago, when Arbeloa's tenure began at Real Madrid and they weren't in the best run of form, Vinicius was himself subject to boos, to hostile whistling from within the Real Madrid fan base as well. So it's certainly possible that there is a racist undertone that exists within Spanish football fans as a whole.
What have Benfica and Prestiani said today?
Well, Benfica claim that this is a defamation campaign against Prestiani. They say, given the distance some of the Real Madrid players were from the alleged incident, that they couldn't have heard what they claim to have heard. They say they fully support and believe the events presented by Prestiani, who has completely denied the racial abuse that Vinicius claims he was victim of.
And just very quickly, Elizabeth, UEFA, if Prestiani is found guilty, what punishments are open to them?
Well, if he is charged, he could face a minimum 10-match ban from European competition. This decision is inevitably going to have to be expedited, as the reverse fixture at the Bernabeu is on Wednesday. So we'll be very closely following the case over the next few days to see if and when any decision is made.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Conway, our Spanish football reporter. Just one other football story for you. Gary Rowett is set to be named as the new Leicester City boss, and that looks most definitely likely to happen as he took training today, according to BBC Radio Leicester. They're currently 22nd in the Championship, a couple of points from safety. Back to the Champions League then. Qarabağ 0, Newcastle 5 at half-time, but John Murray, we're only a quarter of a way through this tie.
Yes, but I think even the most pessimistic Newcastle United fan would concede that they have got, 1 foot 4.5 toes in the round of 16.
I think we got both legs in there. We got everything in. The big news is we're 37 seconds into the second half and there's no goals yet. Probably a slight surprise.
Very good. Yeah, so welcome everyone back here to Baku, where Gurban Gurbanov has made a change. Leandro Andrade has been taken off, and the number 55, Badavi Husseinov, who's actually the club captain, 34 years old. This is his 13th season at the club, and probably basically just get his experience on the pitch.
Yeah, just try to see if they're going to do anything very different. Maybe the temptation must be to go to a back five, and the way it's lined up there, might be tempted to do that. You can see Husseinov's going into the left centre-back position, hasn't he?
He is a central defender. So it is Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 5. If you weren't listening in the first half, remarkable half for Newcastle and Anthony Gordon, who scored 4 of the goals. Here's Alanga as Newcastle attack again, only half cleared on the edge of the area, and then the newly arrived Badavi Husseinov can put his right foot through it and clear it to the halfway line. Qarabağ, the champions of Azerbaijan in 11 of the last 12 seasons, appearing at this stage of the competition for the first time, playing all in black, gold numbers on the back, attacking, and then Lewis Hall's able to come across in the left back area and deflect the ball out of play via a deflection for a throw-in for the visitors from the Premier League, who are, as they started the match, did wonder if he might make a couple of changes at half-time, Eddie Howe, but it is Pope, Trippier, Chow, Byrne and Hall, Tonali, Voltemada, Willock, Alanga, Barnes and 4-goal Gordon, and he is bidding. I've had my head, as you know, Pat, buried in the records at half-time. He is bidding to be just the 16th player to score 5 goals in one match in the European Cup or the Champions League. The last man to do it, unsurprisingly, was Erling Haaland for Manchester City against RB Leipzig in the round of 16 back in 22-23. But only one Englishman has done it. And rather surprisingly, you have to go back to 1962-63 when Ray Crawford of Ipswich scored 5 goals in a European Cup preliminary round tie. So that's one of the many records that Anthony Gordon is on the track of. 3 minutes played in the second half. So Gurban Gurbanov has made his change. Kuchalski is the goalkeeper. Anthony Alanga, there's no play at the moment. Anthony Alanga is just making his way back to the halfway line.
Got a sore one, by the way.
Yeah, after a challenge on his hip. Yeah. So Kuchalski, the goalkeeper. Danny Bolt is the right wing back, as he is now. Mateus Silva, Badavi Husseinov, the sub, and Kevin Medina. They lost Behlul Mustafazadeh to injury in the first half. Qarabağ. Then Tefa Guliev is the left wing back. Bicalio and Jankovic, the central midfielders. Johnny Montiel, the number 10. Abdallah Zubia and Camilla Duran. That is the Qarabağ team. But with the second leg at St James's Park next Tuesday night, it will be either Barcelona or Chelsea who the winners of this tie will play, so that will be it. And of course the second leg as well, with those teams finishing higher in the league than these two teams, Barcelona or Chelsea would be at home in the second leg, as Alanga puts a foot in on the halfway line. It's cleared away by Husseinov, and then up to the halfway line where Zubia turns it in field. Jankovic. I think all of these Qarabağ fans would just love to see their team score a goal. Ball on the right. Danny Bolt's cross in, but it's too close to Paul Bridges. Pats it down. Pat Nevin.
It is quite interesting to watch Newcastle start the second half. They're not playing at that high intensity level. You know, this first few minutes, start of the first half. In fact, the entire first half is such intensity to their play, and no, they're not doing that just now. They're playing sensibly. They're conserving a little bit of energy. They're still trying to score goals. It's just a little bit of respite that Qarabağ are getting just now. And the nice thing for Newcastle, the breaks that they've had in the start of the second half, Qarabağ haven't looked particularly dangerous, which is good news for Newcastle.
Newcastle attacking again. Joe Linton is on the substitutes bench. Whether he will choose to give him a run out at all, giving Manchester City away on Saturday night, we'll just have to wait and see. But no Bruno Guimaraes, no Miley, no Wissa, no Botman. But as it's turned out, the players who are here have been more than good enough, more than a match for Qarabağ, as Medina clears it away out of play on the halfway line. So yes, one-headed goal from Malik Chow, but 4 goals from Anthony Gordon, 2 of them penalties. So that means that he is Newcastle's record scorer in the Champions League now, and he's also, for Newcastle in European competitions, in all of the various European club competitions, he's propelled himself up to 10th on the list. So Shearer is top of that, Alan Shearer with 30 goals, then Shola Amiobi with 15, Craig Bellamy with 11, but Anthony Gordon level with Wyn Davis now, as across comes Badavi Husseinov, who was just caught actually as he challenged for the ball, although that's being disputed by Willock, but it is a free kick for Qarabağ. And I must thank Mark Hannon of Newcastle United for all of his assistance with the various Newcastle facts and figures that I've been leafing through at half-time. Free kick for Medina, who is going to take this from inside his own box.
This could be the first time they go and lump the ball up front. I mean, they'll probably lose it if they do play it. They've lumped it long. Every time in the first half they tried to play it out for the back, they were causing so many problems to themselves. The real problem they've got is if they lump it long, it's not sticking. Big Dan Burn and Chow are eating everything up.
5-0 to Newcastle, and Voltemada is fouled as he tries to bring it forward. Where are you with Voltemada now, Pat, in terms of his development as a Newcastle United player?
I think like a lot of Newcastle fans really like him, because you know the expectation with the height, he's just going to be a big centre forward and a target man. Hey, he does a bit of that when he needs to, when you know, under duress, when they've got players injured. But he's a lovely player on the ball. One of the most noticeable things today is those skills. We know about them. He holds the ball up well, he sprays it about quite well when it comes up to him. But he's been brilliant at blocking them coming out, and those big, long, spindly legs have made a big difference, winning the ball high up the pitch and creating more chances for Newcastle. He's a good one tonight.
Yes, he's quite interesting, isn't he, in this position as well, this rather deeper position.
He likes it better.
Here's Alanga cutting in from the right, looking for a flick from Gordon, breaks down on the edge of the area. Qarabağ got a foot in, and then there's a foul by Gordon and a free kick to Qarabağ on the edge of their own box. Nick Voltemada, incidentally, scored at Villa Park on Saturday, on Valentine's Day, which is his birthday. He was 24 last Saturday, Voltemada, and he shares a birthday with Kevin Keegan, the great Kevin Keegan, who was 75 last Saturday, and as listeners will probably be aware, is currently being treated for cancer. So we'll wish him belated birthday wishings, and once again, the very best. Here is Duran playing it forward into the edge of the penalty area, and Trefeguliev trying to get the shot in, which he does via a deflection into the side netting, deflected behind. It's a corner to Qarabağ.
Yeah, good defending there by Dan Burn. That's possibly the best moment of the game from Qarabağ. Got down there, played the ball well on the left hand side, and can I add my comments about Kevin Keegan? A wonderful player, but one of the most lovely men in football.
Yep. His birthday on Saturday. It would have been Bobby Robson's birthday today. Corner taken shot. Trefeguliev shoots all the way in. They've got their goal. It might well have been deflected past. In fact, the offside flag is up, and more disappointment for Qarabağ. Trefeguliev, excellent play, but the flag was up when he received it back. VAR obviously will have a look at this, but just when they thought they'd got a glimmer and a goal in this knockout tie, the flag was raised.
Yeah, it's very tight. I think it's a lot to. I think they need to get lines and draw that one there. There's a little bit of me was thinking, I was talking so much about Zafaguliev, the left back, before the game, and if he'd scored I'd have been a wee bit smug there, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight.
Shot from the angle, flashing past Nick Pope, who was standing at the near post, and the goal is ruled out. It remains Qarabağ 0, Newcastle 5.
Yeah, it still says goal check on the screens just now, and he's calling Kieran Trippier over
across. That's strange. Still talking to the Qarabağ players are. Oh, the goal is given. The goal stands. Well, that was a strange one. Kieran Trippier's asking the question, but he was onside Zafaguliev, scoring from a very tight angle. I think Nick Pope might be a little disappointed with that. I don't know whether he took a deflection on his way past him. However, Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 5 now.
I was going to say just after half-time, Qarabağ needed 5 quick goals in the back, innit? But, you know, a little bit of confidence now. They can get themselves back into the game. They are good sometimes in the second half. You talked about that. They've had late goals that they've been able to score and come back at teams, but it's quite a lot to ask to come back from 5-0. But lovely little lift for these fans. And to be fair, I did mention it just before half-time, the vast majority, and I would say 98% have stayed, haven't they? They have absolutely stayed. Your team 5-0 down, and they're getting behind their team. So well done, Qarabağ fans.
Yeah, there are one or two gaps. Looking around the stadium, just over 30,000 capacity, wide open ball, all the same level, shallow stands, as I say, an athletics track running around the ground. But in actual fact, I think people at home will be interested to know that the cheapest tickets for tonight were 10 Azerbaijani manats, which is less than £5 to get in to see a match like this. You don't get ticket prices at home like that.
Fabulous.
But camera phone lights on all around the stadium in the home sections. Not sure what that's about.
But you wouldn't get that in any Premier League team, I would imagine, if you're 5-1 down at home.
Yep, that means that even though this would be a record win in the Champions League for Newcastle, they've had that record just snatched away from them. 5-0 in all European club competitions, as we were discussing at half-time. 5 Live and Radio Newcastle from the BBC. Listen as well via the BBC Sounds app. Anthony Gordon tonight scoring what is his first hat-trick for Newcastle, incidentally, but he becomes the 5th man to score a European hat-trick for Newcastle after Rob Lee, Andy Cole, Tino Asprilla, and memorably against Barcelona in the Champions League, and Alan Shearer's got 2 European hat-tricks for Newcastle against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League and in the UEFA Cup against Hapoel Bnei Saknin. So he's on that list, Anthony Gordon, as Newcastle come forward 5-1 up. Tonali chipping it nicely out towards the right hand side for Trippier as Newcastle attack from left to right. Overhead kick from Elanga, drops at the far post, Barnes gets it down, shoots. That was blocked by Danny Bolt, and they've Qarabağ been able to clear it only to Kieran Trippier. So Newcastle having been stung by the goal back, if I can use that phrase. I'm not sure how stung they'll have been by it. Nevertheless, they would have wanted to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, you do. All defences are like that, and they're actually quite furious about it. But the one danger, man, I felt they've had in the entire game, and most of the time I've seen them, it's when the problem is when your most dangerous player is your left back. That's not necessarily a good thing. Duran, who the other ones you would look at, that's how he kicked the ball tonight, has he? Not his fault.
We simply just we haven't seen enough of them in an attacking sense, these dangerous front 4 players, because Newcastle have just been too dominant. They've had too much of the ball, as Zafaguliev is able to do well again. Johnny Montiel in the centre circle, he passes it. Zafaguliev continued his run out towards the far side, but actually it's been taken up by Danny Bolt, and then Zafaguliev decides he's just going to touch it back to the halfway line and return to his position here on the left hand side.
You can see why I can't keep my eyes off him when I've watched him before. He's all over the place. I don't know what position he thinks he's playing most weeks, but he's very hard to mark, and he's got some pace in him.
I think he's been modelling himself on those PSG fullbacks, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
It's really got that about it. As Newcastle, Trippier gives it away, and Bicalio to the edge of the box, but Voltemader's there just outside his own box, takes it away from Montiel. It's won back though, and now a shot from Montiel is straight at Pope, who's able to pat it down. That was hit with some pace, and Pope, it actually bounced away from him, but he was able to gather it with Qarabağ players arriving.
Well, they actually looked like a football team in the second half, which they didn't in the first half. To be fair, they were shell-shocked when they lost those 2 early goals, and they didn't look as if they were a unit. Players were talking to each other, were working for each other. They've come out in the second half after a little bit of break, and there is a definite improvement from Qarabağ, but then again, it would have been hard to be worse.
Yes, it would. It was for them, for Qarabağ. It was the nightmare first half. You know, you've got to load all of that on Newcastle, but also anything that could go wrong did go wrong for them.
Yeah, from players not playing well to injuries and having to move players around to the tactics being just awful for the game, and then not adaptable quick enough. You must be able to adapt to the highest level when something is not working well or is working against you, and they just were far too slow in that. 5 Live from the BBC. Throw in for Newcastle into the area, almost reaches Barnes, so just cleared away by Husseinov, and then Tonali is found middle of the half, so that is a free kick to Newcastle. On 5 Live later, 5 Live Sport on air till 10:30 tonight. We will have all of the evening's top football covered for you. Arsenal in the Premier League playing at Wolves. In the Women's Champions League, Arsenal playing against Leuven. That's an 8 o'clock kick-off, but we'll have everything covered for you. And then on 5 Live tomorrow night, more live sport. The Rugby League World Cup Challenge is on 5 Live tomorrow. Hull KR against Brisbane Broncos. But Newcastle here with this free kick. Middle of the half, 4 Newcastle players discussing what they might do here. They've worked some brilliant set pieces this evening. And here they take it. Trippier plays it out towards the left-hand side. Harvey Barnes now back in the running for a place in the England World Cup squad. Tonali plays it in. Voltemada got his head to it as the goalkeeper came out, but it dropped onto the roof of the net rather than under the crossbar. It was the most obvious play, before the game started, to try and get the ball away, get it into the box from corners, from free kicks, from anywhere at all, because the height advantage is just kind of bordering on ludicrous. I mean, it's not just Voltemada and Dan Burn, Charles, who's actually scored a goal. They do look much, much more dominant in the air, and I suppose that's one of the things about the English game. It has become a strength again, hasn't it?
Yep. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 5. If you have switched on to 5 Live, expecting to hear Drive, this Champions League tie has taken precedence on what will go down in the annals really for Newcastle United, as Trippier attacks down the right. Trippier tucks it back to Alanga, who is behind him, and Alanga's ball into the area is straight at Medina of Qarabağ, who dwells on the ball. Is fortunate there, gets a second chance to clear it downfield. In the stands at the moment you can hear the cheers. They're actually lifting up their mobile phones and entertaining themselves. Every time you hear the cheer, everyone's putting their lights and lifting their phones up, and it is quite effective, as Qarabağ have the ball just in front of their own penalty area. Montiel is down on his knees on the halfway line, and actually it's going to be put out of play for a throw so he can receive some treatment.
You get the feeling that trick they've got, the fans, where they bring their phones up and roar, that's when they would normally do ole ole, but they've not had that many passes to be able to do that yet, so they're making it up as they go along. But again, 5-1 down. What about the noise? The noise is absolutely fantastic from them. It's really, the fans have been a wee bit more impressive than the team.
They have. It looks as though this tie almost certainly is going to be the end of the road. But let's not forget as well that Qarabağ played 3 rounds to get to the league phase, so 2 qualifying rounds and then a playoff round as well. So I mean, that is an epic, really. This is their 15th match in this competition. The 8 matches in the league phase, and then 2 against Shelburne, 2 against Skendia of North Macedonia, and then that player off round against Ferencvaros. So that's been part of the part of the journey as well.
Well, they've learned a lot on the way. I mean, I know they have had other European experience, but the more you get, there's a lot to learn.
There's Danny Bolt for Qarabağ, has a bit of space, plays it across to the edge of the box, tapped back by Zubia, then the shot from the edge of the area flies wide, and actually it's taken a flick, must have just touched the defender on the way wide.
Definitely did. Do you know what? See if you take the second half, apart from the fact that Qarabağ are winning the second half 1-0, they're playing well. Real confidence to take a short corner.
Yeah, Bacalio it was with the shot that was deflected wise. Nick Pope diving to his right. Corner is taken short. Montiel with the ball at his feet. Then back to the edge of the area. It's a matter of pride as well. Bacalio playing it into the edge of the penalty area to Camilo Duran, but Newcastle are able to deal with him, dispossess him, and then win a foul in the centre circle. As
playing on
Willock.
No, he's not.
No, he's brought it back for the foul. Two players actually collided, and I think even though he didn't give the free kick because they've gone down, and he's waving on the medical people. So Eddie Howe is going to make his first couple of changes. Then Pat, 25 minutes to go, with I would imagine an eye on Manchester City away on Saturday night. Jacob Murphy and also Jacob Ramsey coming onto the field for Newcastle. Once they see,
he needs to see if he's okay. Yeah, he needs to see how he's doing. You know, if he's the one to come off, yeah, fair enough, you'll wait. But if he's not the one to come off, then they change their decisions. But it's actually a nice little time for Newcastle to get a bit of a break here. 2 or 3 pretty decent chances. Well, certainly one chance ends up in the goal, but 2 other chances in the second half for Qarabağ, and you know, it's such a long way back, and it's so unlikely, and it's Newcastle still to get the game the 90 minutes back at St James's Park, but you don't want to give them anything really. If you're a footballer, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to go and enjoy the second half and maybe get another couple of goals yourself.
Going to be a triple change. Will Osula's just appeared as well from underneath the roof of the Newcastle United dugout just in front of us. Started against Villa on Saturday night, so he's going to come on in the Champions League, yet to score in the Champions League, Osula. And that will be it for Joe Willock. They didn't want to pick up any more injuries, but I think Willock's okay, Pat. He's walking off the field. He looks all right.
Yeah.
So he's off. Also, Alanga is making way, just waiting for the third number to come up. And it is Anthony Gordon. So there will not be 5 goals in a Champions League match tonight for Anthony Gordon. He'll have to settle for just the 4.
He's not spotted it yet, has he? He's still waiting, and he's actually gutted. And then any player, any striker will feel exactly the same way. You know it's the right thing. You don't want to get injured. You know you need to rest. There's big games coming up, but you also know there's goals. And nobody likes to walk off when they're on a roll like that, but he's taken it well and walked up to Eddie Howe, who's quite rightly shook his hand. I think
he has. The Newcastle manager, Jason Tindall, as well. Graham Jones as well. Full house. And he disappears out of our sight. Anthony Gordon, 4 goals tonight. His first hat-trick for Newcastle United on the evening that he has become the club's record scorer in the Champions League. And well done to him. And that is 14 for the season for Newcastle now in all competitions. Here is Medina taking it away. So the triple change for Newcastle as Chow was able to get the ball back and played all the way back to Pope. So Osula playing up front, Jacob Murphy on the right hand side, of course. And Newcastle, Tonali has been dispossessed, and now Johnny Montiel is looking for Danny Bolt arriving on the right. His little ball into the penalty area, chipped across, comes off the head of Dan Byrne, which takes it behind wide of the near post for another Qarabağ corner.
Kind of unrecognisable, aren't they, from the first half? When their confidence was completely shot. More bad news again.
Well, the other central defender, Medina, they started with 2 central defenders. They lost Mustafa Zadeh in the first half, and now Medina, the tall, shaven-headed Colombian, Kevin Medina, who's had a difficult night actually, has
you're so polite sometimes, John. Yeah, it's do you know, I'm watching him just now, and he's running in an odd, his gait's quite odd, but he's able to run. And he's getting up there and he's going to try and attack the ball. I don't know how much quality they've got left on the bench, that's the problem.
Well, you pretty much know who the starters are going to be for Qarabağ. I thought we might see Caddy Borge come onto the field. Corner is taken short, swung across. Chow's able to get up and head it away for Newcastle, and then hooked forward by Osula. Played forward though from the halfway line by Mateus Silva. Eventually, as it's challenged for by Zubia and Trippier, it comes out of play off the Qarabağ winger. And it's a throw-in for Newcastle. Byrne passing it out to Voltemada, who just leans forward as the challenge comes in on him, keeps the ball well. He's what they call a good hold-up man, isn't he, Voltemada?
He really is fabulous at it. And underline, I mean, most Newcastle fans certainly know this is him playing where he wants to play. He sees himself more as a 10, someone between the midfielders, holding play up, drawing players towards him. He's very good at drawing 2 or 3 towards him, and then be able to play the ball wide. And because he's drawing players towards him, there's lots and lots of space, and he provides those gaps by playing that way.
20 minutes to play. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle United 5. We are actually 4 hours ahead of the UK here, which means that locally it's already 11:15 in the evening. But it's been a beautiful day, blue skies, sunshine, and Newcastle in possession just inside their own half. Chow passing forward, Tonali comes short, and Newcastle just knocking around in the central third of the field. Not the thrills and spills that we saw in the first half by any means, but I don't think we were necessarily expecting.
No, I'd be shocked if Newcastle would have played the same way, at that level of intensity and high pressing and chasing everything down. No, they're just playing a normal game of football now. Just hold it well, wait for the opposition to leave the odd gap here and there. Very, very sensible thing to do just now, because you can wreck yourself, but what's the benefit?
Harvey Barnes gets it down and plays it out to Jacob Murphy, involved in the match for the first time really. Left foot shot, deflected up and in, over the goalkeeper's dive. Jacob Murphy will claim that. It was on target, it took a flick, but it's in the net, and Newcastle score their 6th of the match, their first in the second half. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 6.
Well done, Murphy. You need to be strong to get onto the ball. If you're going to come onto the game, have an effect in the game. Cut in from the right hand side onto his left foot, but to be fair, everything that could possibly go wrong so far for Qarabağ has gone wrong. That is a gigantic deflection there, isn't it?
I think it might, believe it or not, have come off the head of the unfortunate Medina. Oh no, it wasn't. I think it was the substitute, the club captain, Badavi Husseinov.
Yeah, it's but I still think it's his goal. I don't think it'll be an own goal. I think it was going towards a goal there, but they're a bit unfortunate there, aren't they, really? But it shows you the quality Newcastle have got. They've had very few attacks in this second half, but when they get there, they get it on target, they get it with pace, and you don't get it if you don't take a chance. Murphy did. 6-1. Hey, Newcastle fans can relax again, John.
Yeah, that one coming in the 72nd minute of the match, and Jacob Murphy certainly will be wanting it to be his, as Qarabağ attack with Duran into the penalty area, trying to find a position to shoot, but in the end was just crowded out by the sheer volume of Newcastle players, all of the green shirts back inside their own penalty area, and in the end it came to absolutely nothing. Yeah, Jacob Murphy, that, if he does indeed get it, and he's awarded it by the powers that be, that is his first goal in the Champions League.
Yeah, and that's another thing about players playing the second half here. They're not going to cruise through it, because a Champions League goal is a Champions League goal. It means something. It's there on the record for players, and they all want to have that on their record and on their history. So he's got that, and another piece of good news for Newcastle fans. The mighty Joe Linton's going to join the fray as well, which is, it's good to have him back for Newcastle, because he is missed when he's not there or fully fit.
So Qarabağ 1, Newcastle United 6, and Joe Linton about to return. Jacob Murphy, who's just scored down the right, gets the ball in but too close to the goalkeeper. Kuchelski, who's able to deal with this. So 6-1, that returns it to a record margin of victory for Newcastle in European club competitions. Qarabağ with the ball on the halfway line, playing it back to Sefaguliev. Now Zubia on the halfway line, goes between Trippier and Tonali, rolls the pass out to the right hand side to Danny Bold. Tempted ball into the box. Lewis Hall just steps forward, and Newcastle go back towards the edge of the penalty area. Dan Burn digs out the pass to Trippier, and then back centrally to Chow again. Jacob Ramsey, who's able to look up, find the ball to his left to Voltemada, who will go back into central defence, and it's back to Chow again.
Do you know, you're trying to get the ball off Voltemada when he's that position there. Honestly, it's like trying to get round a wall. There's just so much of him, and he loses his body so well. He's really effective in that position, but Newcastle don't always play with someone in that position. They often play 4-3-3, so it's not available for him. But I think Eddie Howe's looked at it a few times now, and I think he won't use it all the time, but it's certainly something that he wants to use a bit more.
That's Pat Nevin, former Scotland international. 15 minutes to play. It's amazing, isn't it, how results, wins, can totally change the mood. After the wins at Tottenham and Aston Villa, Chow just dragging back the number 17 Camilo Duran, and gets a yellow card for that as well. Chow,
possibly the first yellow card of the game. I can't remember. Was maybe one more.
And the significance of that, Pat, is with Newcastle 6-1 up here, Chow was on a Champions League yellow card, so he will be suspended for the cliffhanger that is the second leg. And he will be all clear when it comes to the round of 16.
Yes, that was a kind of ridiculous yellow card. And you don't want to get a red, that's the point. You've done enough now, just be very, very sensible now.
Newcastle going to make that latest change as their fourth change. Kieran Trippier actually coming off the field. He's seen a lot of football recently, Trippier, the 35-year-old, the captain tonight. But that means Joe Linton returns, having not played in the last 6 matches, recovered from a groin injury. So back on the field, Joe Linton, which is a very welcome sight with the various injuries that Newcastle have. Obviously the Winter Olympics continuing, our coverage continuing, and Katie Smith has news.
Yes, I'm watching the women's curlers. Really aggressive, positive play from Great Britain this evening. Feels like they've taken real confidence from the Laskar's win against the USA this morning, being helped by a poor Japan side here. So at the halfway point of this game, 5 ends gone, 5 to play. Great Britain leading 6-1 already. They have to win this one tonight to keep their semi-final hopes intact.
Thank you, Katie. Able to watch it on the BBC. Free kick to Qarabağ, forward of the centre circle, Pat Nevin.
And I'm sure you were glued to the ladies curling this morning. Came back right at the death to win them, and right at the death, so them nearly in the semi-finals now. Exciting stuff.
I have to say, I had other fish to fry at the time. With
big curling family.
Qarabağ. Oh yes, of course, as we know, the
the Tweedside Kettle.
Tweedside Kettle was won by Mrs. Nevin. Yes. Free kick for Qarabağ. Played into the penalty area, bounces all the way across. Tonali with a little nudge there, actually, on Medina, who went down, but the referee was close at hand and says only a free kick. Just about 10 minutes to play. Newcastle winning 6-1. If you've just switched on and haven't heard, 6-1, which includes 4 goals by Anthony Gordon, who is now second on this season's Champions League goal scorers list, behind Kylian Mbappe. Newcastle coming forward with Voltemada, flicks a pass with his right foot here to Jacob Murphy, who scored his first Champions League goal tonight. That was Newcastle's number 6. Malik Chow, the other goal scorer, with a header after a corner in the first half. Tonali overhits that ball through, looking for the run of Jacob Murphy, and it's through for a goal kick. But that was the story of the match, Pat, for anyone who has just switched on, maybe finished work a little bit later back at home. And it was the way that Newcastle came out of the blocks and just created chance after chance and scored so many.
Yeah, tactically Eddie Howe got it perfect. You know, he just, the highest of high presses against a team that were trying to play at the back. They were trying to, but they weren't. They were absolutely unable to do it. They get closed down constantly. They were giving the ball away, nicking it time and time again, and we were not exaggerating at half time to say the Newcastle were 5-0 up, and it could very, very easily have been double figures, very easily in that first half. So they played really, really well, but they've adapted to the second half, don't need to exhaust themselves, and it's a 1-1 so far in the second half, so that's something Qarabağ can hold on to.
1,800 or so Newcastle United fans in the stand to our right in their section, and they are singing their Newcastle songs. I think the feeling was that this would be a tricky one. I think the general acceptance was that Newcastle were big favourites to get through the tie, and whatever happens would have been able to finish the job at St James's Park. But I think the feeling was that this might have been quite tight.
If you'd have told me there was going to be 7 goals scored, I might have gone for 4-3, because they have been pretty good, particularly at home in this competition, Qarabağ. They do lose a lot of goals as well, but yeah, this is actually an extremely good result.
Oh, well played. Ramsey turns under a challenge, gets the ball away to Harvey Barnes. Barnes yet to get on the score sheet tonight. Barnes couldn't work it across the defenders there, and actually it's been played away now for Jankovic, the Montenegrin international, out to the right. Montiel's ball forward, misplaced pass, and Newcastle have got it back. But this will be 3 wins in a row for Newcastle. Not only that, 3 away wins in a row for Newcastle after Tottenham, Aston Villa, and remember before that they'd won only 3 matches away from home all season out of 17, and the talking point was Newcastle are poor away from home, but my goodness, what a change.
Yeah, and it's what a lovely thing is on top of that, they've got the second leg to come, and they don't have to worry about it too much. They don't have to almost exert themselves too much. They just have to go and sensibly win the game or enjoy the game without any fear or concern or worries at all. That's a big thing at this part of the season. You've had that many games.
Here's Duran, the young Colombian who scored 4 goals in the Champions League this season but not had a chance tonight. However, turns, gives it to Zubia into the penalty area, then back to the edge of the area, and the shot on the left foot is absolutely skied. In fact, he almost reached the crowd, who were set back probably 40 yards behind the goal across the running track, and it remains 6-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame for them there, really, because that was, again, they played a little bit better in the second half. They've been allowed to, they've moved the ball neatly. There's no doubt some of those Qarabağ players are quite skillful. They're really nice and neat and tidy on the ball, but in terms of pace and the ability to keep it going at this level, at this intensity, they are miles behind the likes of Newcastle.
Well, you can hear the Newcastle fans with that famous sporting song that crowds sing in the background. Newcastle half-term week as well. I bet there are some real adventures for Newcastle supporting families. I think we've seen that as well, haven't we, as Medina is able to win the ball back for Qarabağ on the edge of the penalty area. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle United 6, and Newcastle bound for Manchester City on Saturday night. We'll have that covered on 5 Live. You can hear the commentary on Radio Newcastle, by the way, if you're in the Radio Newcastle area on the BBC Sounds app. Qarabağ with the ball into the penalty area. Chow's able to head that away, and Newcastle complete the clearance towards the halfway line. But actually, fair to give credit to the Qarabağ supporters, the Newcastle fans singing, and just in the section near them, the Qarabağ supporters in one of the popular sections are giving their best as well.
They've been mirrored down the other side by another bunch of Qarabağ fans, so the inverted commas ultras are keeping the noise up a little bit.
Yeah, going to make a couple of changes. Gurbanov, their highly experienced and successful coach. This commentary coming live from Baku, from the Tofik Bakramov Stadium. They're very proud of Tofik Bakramov, as I found last night, as Byrne is able to take it down under pressure, find Lewis Hall. Hall does well, takes it on. I think he was hoping that he was going to be fouled, but he's actually carried on and taken it all the way into the opposition half, and then it's deflected out of play for a Qarabağ throw. We're going to see these next couple of changes for the home side. So that is it for Abdallah Zubia, who started off captaining the team tonight. So Emmanuel Adai, the Ghanaian, is going to come on to replace him, and also Johnny Montiel is going to be replaced by Caddy, so that is a straight swap. Caddy Borge, who's been injured recently, he's Brazilian with Polish family connections, and he is coming on to play in the number 10 role, even though he has the number 20 on his back. As Dan Burn is able to step across, play resuming, and Lewis Hall passing it all the way back to Byrne, who's going to swing it over here towards the right-hand side. Yes, the press conference room down below, there are all manner of pictures from the 1966 World Cup final. The ball, did it cross the line or not? And you're
still asking?
And they are very proud of the fact that it was their man who gave the goal, one of Jeff Hurst's hat-trick goals, another Englishman with a hat-trick. And there's also a picture of a golden whistle which he was given by the Queen in the royal box, Tofik Bakramov, at the end of the final. 5 minutes to go. 6-1 to Newcastle. Qarabağ trying to get a second goal as Tonali blocks it with his legs inside the penalty area, the cross from Jankovic, and it's another corner to Qarabağ from the right-hand side.
And they're looking for a penalty kick there, but I think there's a possibility it hit off his, if it did hit off the hand, it certainly hit off the foot, then went up onto the hand, which, as we all know, is not a penalty kick.
So it is a corner from the right. Newcastle are also going to bring on Sean Neve for his debut. Here's the corner, which is headed down and across goal, but no power on it from Husseinov. Comes out to the edge of the box, curling shot wide from Jankovic, and behind, and it's a goal kick. And we will now see Sean Neve, who is a Geordie boy. He is the latest product of the Wallsend Boys Club, which over the years
extraordinary
has just produced so many professional footballers. It is ridiculous. And he's going to take the place of Harvey Barnes, who wasn't able to get on the score sheet tonight. So Sean Neve comes on finally for his debut. He's been an unused substitute so many times, the 18-year-old. It's actually an unused substitute at the League Cup final last season, the Qarabağ Cup final, so he was a part of that. But now finally here in faraway Baku, on the other side of Europe, he makes his debut.
And what a joy. You know, he probably thought, well, the one place I won't get my debut, I might get it, Qarabağ Cup or something like that, or the end of a league game that's already finished just about with 5 minutes to go. But yeah, Champions League and your debut, excellent.
Yep, first senior competitive appearance for 18-year-old Sean Neve, who is up front. Receives the ball is played to Osula, who just, as he's falling down, he's so awkward, Osula, as takes it on past Jankovic. He's already stumbling. The ball's deflected out of play, as Qarabağ are also going to make another change, which we'll see. The son of Gurban Gurbanov coming on, Azerbaijan international Musa Gurbanla is his name. And Camilo Duran has had an excellent season, but not able to add to the 4 goals that he scored in the Champions League this season. And the son of the coach comes on to play up front. Free kick for Newcastle.
Do feel a wee bit sorry for Duran. I don't think we found anything really tonight, did we? So well marshalled, but there's so little to play and you get very little ball, no chances whatsoever.
Free kick, Murphy to take this for Newcastle. In it goes, that's an excellent delivery, Byrne with a header. The follow-up is saved by Kuchalski. I mean, it was rather awkward, as then the ball comes in again and is headed wide. Osula was in there as well, but as it bounced wide, he was stretching for it, and Kuchalski somehow was able to block it.
I mean, it's a gorgeous ball in. The keeper thought about coming for it, but there's no way he was going to get there. And of course, right from the start again, talking about the height you've got there with Dan Burn. Dan Burn could easily have got 2, maybe 3 tonight as well. That would have been something to talk about, a centre-back getting up there. He'll be gutted he didn't score that one, but another good save by the goalkeeper, who I hesitate before saying he may well be the man of the match for the opposition, having let 6 goals in.
Yeah. Goal kick is taken short. We're in the 90th minute now here in Baku. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 6. Ball played back to the goalkeeper, who's able to go down and claim it and then overarm it out. And the Qarabağ goal scorer, Tevaguliev, plays it forward towards Adai in the centre circle. To Danny Bolt now, and there are now great empty seats appearing all the way around the
It has got to 12, John.
That's a very good point.
Nearly midnight.
Yeah. 4 hours ahead of UK time as Newcastle have the ball with Ramsey inside their own half. There will be a Euroleagues on 5 Live tonight, Euroleagues programme. A new 72 Plus is available on BBC Sounds. Bromley's Andy Woodman is on that. That was released today. And the Roberto Martinez football interview is also available this week on the BBC Sounds app. I saw him in Brussels last week, your old mate, Roberto Martinez. When I also spoke to another one of your old mates, Steve Clark, who told us all about Harvey Barnes' decision to choose to stick with England rather than switch allegiance to Scotland, which I think will make it very interesting to see if Harvey Barnes is in that England squad next month.
It's a big call for Harvey Barnes, because that is a tough place to get into the England squad. The amount of players in that position that are absolute phenomenal quality.
And he's competing with the guy who scored 4 goals for his clubmate.
I mean, he's a fine player, and certainly Scotland would have taken him with in a heartbeat, without a doubt. But we all respect his decision for his country.
3 minutes of added time then here on what has been a tremendous, record-breaking night for Newcastle in so many ways. And their first half performance, it was 5-0 at half time. So the second half is currently a 1-1 draw. But that first half play from Newcastle, 2 sides to every story. Newcastle were excellent and Qarabağ had a really bad night. Long pass over the top. Joe Linton chests this down, bounces away over the dead ball line as he was challenged for it by Mateus Silva, and it is only a goal kick. So 6-1 it says up on the scoreboards. The badge of Qarabağ with the 2 prancing horses. They do call them the horsemen, Qarabağ, and that is the Qarabağ horse that is pictured on the badge. So Qarabağ horsemen 1, Newcastle United 6.
Yep. The Magpies have certainly got it in this one. Interesting, you're talking about 1-1 in the second half, and it is one of the football cliches, and I know you like to get them. When you're getting hammered in the first half, a manager will often say the phrase, go out and win the second half, or at least don't lose it. Well, they haven't lost it so far.
Jacob Murphy passing it forward. Osula, Neves in the middle. Neves with a chance. Oh, it was deflected away from him. Deflected behind him. So close to a chance. He was on his own in the middle, and that deflection just took it away and behind him. But he must have been thinking, here we go. This is my chance.
Yeah, he's got into the right position. He's lost his marker. He's done everything right. He's actually got good physicality about him, and his movement's good. He's getting into the right places. He's fearful of nothing. He's already been, shoving some of those centre backs around. So there's another player that Newcastle can look forward to. The Newcastle fans can look forward to seeing. And being a local lad, I think he'll be playing with plenty of heart.
Newcastle go back into their own penalty area. Just a few seconds to play. Yes, the stadium emptying now. I must mention again, the soldiers are still in position. They've been standing with their backs to the match for the whole of the 90 minutes plus and are still in position. Hundreds of them on the other side, ringing the athletics track. But there we have it, the final whistle goes here. What a night for Eddie Howe, who walks forward now and shakes hands and hugs Gurban Gurbanov, the coach of Qarabağ. A tremendously successful night for Eddie Howe and his team, not least Anthony Gordon with the 4 Champions League goals that he scored tonight before he was substituted. And Newcastle are absolutely romping this knockout playoff tie. Second leg at St James's Park next Tuesday, but they've won tonight here in Baku by 6-1 in the first leg.
Job done, and they can enjoy it now. And it's very rarely you can go and enjoy a second half of a game and just say, this is cool, this is something we can bring on as many players as you want, which is exactly what they did. But I think Eddie Howe, for a multitude of reasons, will be delighted. But the fact that he doesn't have to ask his players to play at huge intensity in the second game is a massive part of that with the amount of games that are going on. They're just about there in the next round.
Yeah, handshakes all round out on the pitch. Anthony Gordon, 4 goals, 2 of them penalties, the night that he's become Newcastle United's record scorer in the Champions League. First half header from Chow, second half goal from Jacob Murphy, while Elvin Sefaguliev got a goal back for Qarabağ early on in the half. But a comprehensive victory for Newcastle United, equalling their record margin of victory in any of the European club competitions, their biggest win in a Champions League match. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle United 6.
And fully deserved as well, Parry. I know sort of at half-time you were wrestling with how bad Qarabağ had been and how much credit to give Newcastle correspondingly. But as you said then at full-time, there are so many positives for Eddie Howe after that.
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, you've got a big game at the weekend, but they didn't have to go and put everything in that second half, so there'll be a little bit more energy for the Manchester City game. That's a big thing. They don't have to go all guns blazing for the second leg of this game, because they basically ain't going to lose it, so he can enjoy that. What a confidence booster it is to players. They can get a few goals, and certainly Anthony Gordon, it's going to help him a lot. Not that he often needs a lot of confidence, but it's going to help him a lot as well. The fans, it's a great moment for them right now. As I'm speaking to the chappers, they're all walking towards the fans over there, and it's lovely. We've done this journey, and you don't want to go on about it, but it's a long old way. It takes a long time. It's exhausting for these fans. It's extremely expensive. There's no cheap way of doing this as well. So we'll go to bed tonight. Well, we'll get to bed 1 o'clock, something like that, local time, and we'll be up at 4. Some of these fans won't even get to bed, so they're giving away so much, and it's lovely, absolutely lovely, that they can enjoy this moment, and more to the point, chappers, can remember it and can always say they were here.
Leon Osman, part of the Match of the Day team tonight, 10:40, BBC One, all the highlights of all the Champions League games this week. When I ask you this, there are certain caveats to it. I appreciate it's the Champions League, not the Premier League, and Anthony Gordon has spoken about the difference. I appreciate that they played a different way against Paris Saint-Germain, but haven't necessarily stuck to that since they played Paris Saint-Germain. But how they played tonight and how they set up tonight, Eddie Howe has to look at that going forward, doesn't he? With the role of Voltemada and then Gordon and Barnes and Elanga.
You would think so. I mean, that has to be the blueprint of what can bring success to Newcastle. The speed at which they played, the pace, how dynamic they were, and yet within all of that, they were a threat all over the field. I thought, it won't be noticed that much because of everything else that happened around, but I thought Willock's energy in midfield, breaking the lines, getting forward, as you said, giving more space to Voltemada to come back and drop into spaces, certainly made them an outstanding threat going forward. Whether they'll find the right balance for that in the Premier League, Voltemada, can he get around the pitch in that midfield area in the same way that maybe Joe Linton was able to do when he dropped back? We'll soon, we'll probably get to see that in the next month or so, you'd expect, because what we saw from Newcastle... Do you think
there's too much risk playing him as a 10? I
think possibly. I think certainly not when they're in possession of the ball, but as we well know, the Premier League is so much more dynamic in terms of the transitions, the speed at which you can get punished if you're exposed centrally. And tonight they weren't really exposed very often, and it was all about Newcastle in possession of the ball, causing trouble. Voltemada himself and dropping into spaces was exceptional. The way he could twist and turn, he's got incredible feet for a big man, and then allowing the likes of Gordon, Elanga, Barnes, who've all got great pace at the top end beyond him. So Newcastle, it was an outstanding first half of football, one of the best of the season, and in what was a big game, absolutely a Champions League knockout tie away from home, and they truly delivered.
Do you think, Pat, that Gordon can play... ask the question of Leon about Voltemada. Gordon has to be an option through the middle for Newcastle in the Premier League, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's done it before for them. It's not something that's absolutely new for them. What was interesting, that was at the Brentford game, and Brentford won 3-2, but that was one of the things that Eddie tried. There's still something to look at, and I think even though they didn't win, he must have thought, yeah, that's all right. That's creating stuff. That's another option that we can go for. So yeah, if if this is not available, Voltemada will do that job as on point if you want him to, but that's not his position. You ask him, he'll tell you that's not his position. He has a 10, he has someone who plays in that sort of, or even an 8 coming from that sort of area. So there is no doubt that he would rather be back. And if you do that way with Voltemada, I completely agree with Leon. His hold-up play was phenomenal. I used to play with a guy called Norman Whiteside, which some people remember. Honestly, it was like trying to tackle a wall. You just couldn't get by right. He was brilliant at it. Voltemada's like that. You're wasting your time, because he's like a wall and an octopus at the same time. You cannot get by him. He holds the ball brilliantly, he turns well, and he's got great vision. And you see him at his very, very best when he's in that position. And of course, the great thing is they can switch. Yeah, Anthony Gordon can come back a bit deeper, and Voltemada can go up. So yeah, and sure, absolutely, Eddie's looking at that thinking, yeah, that'll do, I can use that. And it mightn't be in second halves, it might be the last 10 minutes. Why not?
Maybe, Leon, and you're not the one that's done this trip, John and Pat are, but maybe, being in this sort of knockout phase hasn't turned out too badly for Newcastle. It's the kind of game, it's the kind of performance that can then launch the second half of a season.
Yeah, I mean, and you would say that this tie is done already. So the second leg becomes a game that doesn't have to be as intense, because you'd expect that they've got the job done now. So as you said, you've got to see quite an experiment from Eddie Howe, an opportunity to have a go in this new look style. They may then continue to do that. So having this opportunity has been great in a game that they had to go out and perform in. And quite often, as you mentioned, chappers, things like this can set you up. You fall into a routine, you find something that you weren't expecting. Things just seem to flow effortlessly tonight. I mean, Newcastle were going about it. It didn't seem like they were having to think. It just seemed like everything was just perfectly sort of aligned for them. They were running into spaces. They were, as you said, Voltemada was dropping off, Gordon was going along. Things they were doing so speedy, because it was like they weren't even thinking about it, and that will definitely set them up for the next few weeks. Confident wise, absolutely. Whether they keep this as a strategy in the Premier League, I hope so, because they were a really good watch. They really were. And as you say, without saying this tie is completely done, I'm sure Eddie Howe will be saying they need to get it done in the second leg. They should, have a comfortable time when that comes around.
I suppose that the problem for Eddie Howe then is that the next opponents, Pat, are Manchester City, and he's tried various different things to see if he can get it to work against Manchester City.
You'd be brave if you're going to do that, but I think Eddie Howe is brave. Look, the expectation with recent games against Manchester City is that they're not going to get anything out of it, particularly as away from home. So do you try it for the first 15-20 minutes? Because it worked extraordinarily well for these first 15-20 minutes here, but it's harder to do it against a team of the very, very top quality. But if Gordon is that sharp, Elanga's sharpness was ridiculous at the start of the game, and I did mention a few times in the commentary, Voltemada did that brilliant break-up play high up the pitch, and there are certain players where they kind of move in sort of way that's kind of slightly ungainly, and it's hard to pass by them as easy as other players. So yeah, maybe play him in that position and try it and play really, really high up the pitch. But we all know how dangerous that is against any team away from home, but particularly Manchester City. But I'd love to see it, because it'll lead to goals. We kind of promised goals for this game tonight. If Newcastle do that, there'll be goals in the Manchester City game. There is not even a shadow of doubt about that.